we should talk about the issue of Neil Young, who I understand is canceling his subscription to Tablet Magazine at this moment. Uh, Neil Young delivering an ultimatum to Spotify that they could have his music or they could have Joe Rogan, but not both. And Spotify did the right thing and they said, sorry, Neil, and they removed his music. The problem is, I think people don't really get the dimensionality of the problem, right? People spend a lot of time mocking Neil Young for, who's Neil Young was a reaction that a lot of people below a certain age had, and that became a funny joke. And the fact is,
I would like to assume, and this is mostly the case for me even, that many of the people who are listening and watching may not actually know about any of this. That, if you weren't paying attention to a little piece of social media, then you don't know. And frankly, you're probably living a life that is more in touch with a lot of things that you'd rather be in touch with. But, this is important, but I don't think that you can assume that this is something that everyone's been thinking about.
Well, I don't know. It's possible that the slice of the world I was paying attention to was more obsessed with it. But the fact is, at some level, and I've made this argument and I've been mocked for it. My point is, actually, at the moment, Spotify is the front line of the battle over free speech. And yes, you can mock me and you can say it's not free speech because Spotify isn't the government. On the other hand, the Surgeon General, who very definitely is the federal government, did suggest that these platforms need to be censoring Joe Rogan. So that is a First Amendment issue in the narrowest and most obvious sense of that term.
Well, and you have also made the argument, as have others, that our social media platforms are de facto the public square.
They are de facto the public square. We have no other access to the internet but to go through these private on-ramps. And Eric has said it very clearly. He said, if free speech doesn't mean anything if it doesn't apply in this realm. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to view it. But the point is, free speech is a principle. The free exchange of ideas is fundamental to the free West. And to the extent that we are losing that right, whether or not you can justify it in a court, we are losing something on which our system fundamentally depends. And what people are not understanding about this battle is that it has nothing to do with Neil Young and the comparison between Neil Young and Joe Rogan. The point is, this is the last line of defense. Why are they going after Spotify? They're going after Spotify because as long as Joe Rogan is on Spotify and he can bring the dissident doctors to the world through Spotify, they can't plug the leak in their story, right? So the point is we should expect the pressure on Spotify to go up, and we should expect the pressure on Substack to go up. And the point is, you will remember, some of you will remember that we coined a term or a phrase, and the phrase was 0 is a special number. And what that means is, as long as you have one place where the good journalists who remain on Earth can go and publish their stuff, as long as you have one place where Joe Rogan can distribute his podcast and anybody can watch it, they cannot maintain their garbage narrative. Therefore, you can be certain that they will go after those last remaining venues. And what they will do is they will ratchet up the economic pressure on those venues until they cave, at which point they will reach the state of 0, where there is no place for those things to be distributed. And that will be a very different world. So we need to get serious about this question. I would say, and I have been trying to induce people on Twitter to recognize that every time they trend some hashtag that is designed to make Spotify quake in its boots, that it's about to lose some important part of its business because people are fleeing as a result of Joe Rogan talking to doctors on his podcast, we need to mount a response, right? We need to have something trend that says, thank you, Spotify, and thanks, Joe Rogan, or something akin to that, so that people are aware that actually there's a tremendous amount of support for keeping that channel open. And I don't know how it is that we ensure that we win this battle, but I know that we have no choice but to win this battle, because a world in which there is no Substack and there is no Spotify, in which the dissidents can still speak to us, is a much worse world. It is a world in which we will have a much harder time turning the tide against this garbage.
To this point, actually, I forgot one thing I wanted to say with regard to the truckers' convoy, and I think it actually fits in really well here. If you would show my screen, Zach, I just went to 2 of the biggest newspapers in the U.S. To see what the coverage. You go to social media, and again, you plug in truckers, and you immediately get all sorts of stuff, and it suggests all the hashtags. But observe what happens when I plug in truckers on the New York Times. We have from January 19th, facing a shortage of truck drivers, pilot program turns to teenagers. From January 14th, superload lumbers across Pennsylvania, 2 lanes wide and as big as 2 wheels. These carbon spewing vehicles must be stopped. And then the 4th most recent one is from December 20th of last year, a holiday feast cooked in the cab of a truck. Which is to say nothing, right? And if I do Truckers Convoy, I get 1966, 1971, 2008.
Wow.
Nothing. Okay.
That's amazing.
Let's try WAPO. Let's try Washington Post. That's not actually how you spell truckers. Truckers results in, let's see. No, go away. From September 2021, Perspective, the key to the longevity of the drive-by truckers. Oops, that's a rock band. And from, again, September... no, this is from May 22nd, 2020. At a busy East African border, testing truckers created perfect conditions for coronavirus to spread. And again, from May 2020, truckers blast horns near White House to protest low rates during pandemic.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And when you plug in, Zach, just one more thing. Can you keep my screen on this? Thank you. When you plug in Truckers Convoy, again, you get nothing. The most recent things from 2016 about Putin.
And I bet if you were to...
That's it.
Right.
That's the New York Times and the Washington Post. And I'm sure that I could just keep going.
Right. And if you did...
0 is a special
0
number.
Is a special number.
Yes.
If you did the opposite search, if you searched for the public health authorities, like if you were to plug in mother truckers, right, then you would, I'm sure, get a lot of results.
Yeah, I think the title of this should be Mother Truckers. And what kind of Ken doll did you call him?
Duplicitous? Was that right?
Yes. Ken doll.
But he evaded the other. He's not decrepit.
Right. No, he's not a decrepit clown. He's a duplicitous Ken doll.
He's a duplicitous Ken doll is what that man is. Mm-hmm. All right. So actually, before we... did you have more?
No, we're good.
So before we close out this section, let's... Zach, will you put up Chelsea Clinton's tweet here?
Oh, boy.
Well, actually, hold on a second. Let me set this up.
Oh, actually, I think you showed me this. I have a link. Okay.
We got it. So don't put it up yet. The point I wanted to say, we have a philosophical problem. People frequently talk about being on the right side of history, and others have complained mercilessly about this term, and I actually will defend the term. I think the idea of the right side of history is a vital idea, right? That you should always be seeking to figure out. The problem is that we identify the right side of history in retrospect. And when we say come to the right side of history, we are making an assertion about the fact that ours will be viewed in retrospect as the right side of history. And I believe it is a proper exercise that gets abused regularly. And the problem is, how do you recognize in real time? And it is in fact difficult sometimes to recognize the right side of history. But I'm going to posit that there is a method that we can develop that involves a first step that is very clear, which is to identify the wrong side of history, which is easily done because they're always shouting for censorship, right? Censorship is what the powerful do when their arguments cannot stand up to competition in a marketplace of ideas, right? They call for censorship of the opposition. And so if you would now show this tweet from Chelsea Clinton. All right, I cannot read it from there. Chelsea Clinton.
She's quote tweeting a Guardian article.
Quote tweeting a Guardian article says, anti-vax grift going strong. Why is Substack facilitating science denialists' ability to profit from destructive lies and comfortable... can you read that?
She probably means comfortably profiting themselves.
Comfortably profiting themselves. So anyway, and she...
The headline of the Guardian article that she's linked to is anti-vaxxers making at least $2.5 million a year from publishing on Substack.
Right. Now, of course, what the hell does she mean anti-vaxxers, right? Is she calling Robert Malone an anti-vaxxer who is in fact
Corey,
a vaccinologist, right? I mean, the point is it's a garbage epithet.
Yeah.
Who the hell is Chelsea Clinton to be making this point, right? Chelsea Clinton, obviously was born into great power, right? And she is now wagging her finger at people making money on Substack, some of whom have lost their jobs for standing up for the right thing. I mean, this is so absurd. This is power shouting down truth, and frustrated that because 0 is a special number, that they are entitled to reach it, and reach it by getting Substack to back away from its commitment to free speech. So in any case, finding the right side of history may be difficult. Finding the wrong side of history is surprisingly easy, because in general, the people on the wrong side are shouting to censor the others.